I'm doing. Hello there, everybody. Hang on. My microphone just fell out. Let's start, right? Welcome, everybody, here to the Laurel Springs School panel on Transformation Thursdays. I'm really honored. I'm excited. I want you to meet all these amazing human beings in front of me who are all super smart, super athletic, super disciplined human beings. It's really amazing. So in order to get started, I just wanted to thank a few people. Laurel Springs, thank you for having me here on this panel to moderate today. I am excited to make some impact on the ground here for athletes, coaches, and parents, trying to help their children to navigate this ecosystem of sports now. It's a big ecosystem of sports. And right now, Laurel Springs is a fantastic school. It is a pioneer in online education, empowering kids from K to 12. And it is also able to be flexible for kids. I really like this, so they can take their courses at different times. And I like that they've distinguished their curriculum away from others to help their athletes. It's just been top notch working with everybody with Laurel Springs. It's been great. And they're here to help athletes develop, not just in their sport, not just in school, but the whole athlete. So here today, I have three amazing humans. I'm going to introduce them. We have Louis, Amani, and Ben. And I will say who I am. I'm Larissa Mills. I'm the CEO and cognitive behavioral sports specialist from Mental Game Academy. I want this to be an impactful experience. And these three lovely human beings in front of me have navigated the system. They've learned from the system of sports and how to achieve and get to that scholarship of where they wanted to be. And that's at NCAA schools or Ivy League schools. And it's been amazing that all three of you have navigated this NIL space, social media, phones, distractions, mental skills, mental performance, training, diet, sleep, academics, and then we haven't even talked about your actual sport, you as an athlete. It's amazing you've juggled all this and you've done it. You're 1 in 500,000 kids. You're pretty special to me. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to talk about a few different things, but I want you to each introduce yourself. So Louis, could you tell everybody a little bit? You're from Laurel Springs. And you have already created your own business. You're going to Babson. You're crazy smart. You're a crazy great tennis player. Tell us a little about you and your journey.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for the nice words. But yeah, I studied at Laurel Springs my last 3 years of high school, and then I decided to study at Babson, which is the #1 school for entrepreneurship. And while there, I started my own business. It's called the Athlete Zero. Here you have it, where we
saw the logo.
it's pretty much related with the Mental Game Academy. We help with mental training, and aside from that, we also help athletes with sports nutrition and college recruiting. And it's great to be able to combine my two passions, which I always say are sports and business. So yeah, excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. Amani, who I've worked with, great lacrosse player at Ohio State. She is an academic. She's a leader on her team. She is already working within business. She already is working for another pro squad you're involved with, right? You're helping the NIL space at your school. You're an all-around great, cool person. So let's introduce you and your journey to where you got to in Ohio State there, Amani.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words. I'm excited to be here. As Larissa mentioned, I play lacrosse at Ohio State. I'm a junior/senior here because my academic path has been a little bit interesting as far as utilizing eligibility to get a master's and undergraduate degree. But I'm from Richmond, Virginia, didn't really know what I wanted to do going into college, so I think I bring that unique perspective if people have questions about that. But excited to be here and share a little bit about what I've learned as a college athlete.
Awesome. Awesome. It's good to see you again in mid-season. So we're lucky to have her right now. So, all right, Ben, great. You're Ben Cornell. I'm so happy you're here from Columbia. You play football, top of your class. You've already graduated in economics. And now you're looking for that next little bit of your path. Could you share a little bit about that in your journey, Ben?
Yeah, 100%. I'm Ben Cornello. I'm a senior, just graduated from Columbia in December. I'm looking to further my degree in potentially an MBA or maybe focus in finance, just going on to the next semester at a different school. I'm currently in the transfer portal, looking at schools for this upcoming spring and farther on.
Right. Awesome. Well, here we are. We're at this crossroads of how we can empower this younger generation of athletes. So I'm going to go around to all of you, and I would like you to think about what it's like in today's sport ecosystem where so many kids don't have the mental skills or they don't have the discipline, they don't have all the skills. What do you think? What mental skills helped use each in your own on your own path to remain consistent in your play, but also to help you at identification camps? What do you think those skills were? We'll go back to Ben. What do you think helped you when you were looking to get noticed or to be more? It's the C word's hard to top, right? Being consistent in your sport. That's hard to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think consistency is something that can't be understated. You know, as an athlete, there's a lot going on constantly between your actual sport, lifting, social. I know social in high school is a lot to deal with, especially as a growing student. And then on top of that, performing on the field, and it's incredibly difficult. One thing that I felt helped minimize this like stress in these camps where you're competing honestly against kids who are going for the same spot as you is communication with coaches. Communicating with coaches really helped minimize my anxiety going into those camps and helped me focus on the little things where you're going into the camp and you feel there's so much focus on whether it's one-on-ones, running your 40-yard dash and constant other things. And communicating with coaches before camp really helped me dial in my focus into maybe one particular thing I was overlooking to really focus on and stand out in that camp and talk to the person who's actually going to be signing me one day. So that's what I'd say.
That's an interesting tip. So I'm going to go back to, they helped you to navigate sort of the communication portion, but to help to dial in and focus on what you could do. Right. So not wasting your time with other things. What could you do now? How could you make
100%.
that? I like that. I like that. Louis, what was your experience? What did you find help you to get that consistency to get noticed at camps or development?
So I didn't have I wasn't lucky enough to go to camps because I was I stayed in. But for me I had the privilege of working with several mental coaches across my career, and for me the most important skill that I learned and I use today in my business life in everything is meditation. No, learning how to calm my mind and really dive deep into the problems is a skill. At first, when I started doing it, I didn't really know how it worked. I was a bit lost, and then as I kept practicing, I got better and better, and now I can solve pretty much any problem when I just start meditating for a few minutes. No,
right, calming the brain, calming the mind helps us make better decisions and have clarity, right? So it really does. Meditations, and there's so many different forms of meditation that our athletes use today. It could be mantric, like saying words over and over again. It could be many things, or saying one word, but no, that's great. Amani, what would you think helped you in that consistency portion and that getting noticed portion that helped you along the way?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing for me is just a passion for the game, because at the end of the day, if you're not loving what you're doing as a high schooler, and you're not loving attending these camps and putting your body through weekends of just nonstop sports, and you're not going to love college sports just because you're going nonstop and balancing all these different things. So for me, it was just a love of the game. And when times get difficult, or, you know, I felt I wasn't playing well, I kind of just reflect on how much I love the game and how much I love my teammates. And that really propelled me and motivated me to keep going.
Right. And intrinsic motivation, you can't beat it. That's intrinsic motivation built in, your own passion for it. Right. I love hearing that. And that is why you love doing what you do. Like, you've each played probably 25,000 hours of your sport, about right? Probably each of you're all in your, right? So that's a lot. That's how many hours it takes to become a brain surgeon. Right. So look at all the hours. You have to like what you're doing, right? So my next question that I think would be very valuable for parents and for athletes is, we're navigating something here that's a little different. This world, the last 25 years, the sport ecosystem has really changed. It's become more, I want to say, sensitive. I want to say more charged, faster burning out. We have kids quitting. This whole world for you has changed dramatically in sports. And I've seen it change. And I've been in sports now for over 30, 35 years. So you have friends to balance, NIL, family, your training, your diet, your sleep. You have to somehow navigate phones, and you have to study. So what do you think helped you get that scholarship or that next step in what you wanted? What sort of things did you have to learn to balance or to manage in your own time or your discipline? What do you think? Let's go with Louis at the top there.
So it's fun that you asked this question. I was actually this weekend having a podcast with an influencer, and we're actually talking about it. And she was telling me she just graduated from Iowa University, and she was telling me how she now has to manage all the influencer side and her current job and everything. And we were saying, like, time management is a skill that you have to learn when you're in middle school, high school, and then you're always gonna have to fit different times in your schedule throughout all your life. No, so it's a very, very important skill. And for me, the key thing here is learning your priorities. No, and when you're actually doing that daily schedule, first of all, putting your number one priority, then adding your second priority, and like that, and then is how you actually find time for the most important things. No, so yeah, that's for me the most important.
Right. So you prioritized, went with the way you prioritize them, and then you worked your way back into balancing them all, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's great. Amani, how did you find you had to organize all this? Was it routines? I know you took our MGA course and we really helped you with the routines. Was it just setting priorities like Louis, or what did you find helped you getting that scholarship in your own personal way?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I think definitely you need to set your priorities first to understand that, you know, for me, it was school comes first, then sports, then my social life, if I really wanted to make it to the next level. But then day to day, I had to set routines. There were days in high school where I was getting up early at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, homework done or do extra training. And then as you taught us through MGA, setting phone routines is super important. So I have my phone locked on the apps that are distracting from 12 to 5 p.m. just because that's my practice block, and I don't want to be distracted by any outside things that could alter my mood or, you know, take me away from being present at practice. So I kind of just set away that time. And then I also have a screen time limit. So just limiting the amount of distractions on my phone for apps that I don't really need to be on, but they're definitely tempting.
How did you manage all the academic and the training? Like, what did you find? You put it into routine, or did you just prioritize then put it into routine? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say school's always been a priority for me, and I really love learning. growing up. And I think my high school really prepared me well, just because it was a really, really rigorous environment and everyone around me wanted to succeed as much as I did. So it helped to have friends who were in a similar spot. Even if they weren't playing sports, they were spending as much time, if not more, developing their academic side of things.
Right. So you prioritized your academics. And what I see as a theme here, and I'm going to go over to Ben, and I know Ben's theme, because you are heavy on the academic side, Ben, and doing so well at Columbia. You graduated. So reflecting back, how do you think you were able to get that all prioritized in a way to balance everything out?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what they touched on. It's consistency and sacrifice. Setting a goal in high school and really doing steps every day to get to that goal is really important. And that looks like sacrificing socially. Like there's so often times during the week when you could be doing homework and someone wants to hang out with you. You want to go get ice cream with your friends.
And you're like,
it's the consistency to say no and stick to your plan, go to the weight room, get homework done, and really get ahead of your time. You know, your time's super valuable in high school and especially in college when there's the distractions are truly huge. And having the consistency and determination to say no to those distractions oftentimes is so hard. And I think
especially the ice cream, Ben, it's hard to turn that down.
Yes, especially New York.
I don't know if I could turn down ice cream. I know I go to the weight room rather than eat pasta. I mean, but those are disciplined choices. Yes. Like we need to make those decisions. Like I know I can't eat chocolate 4 times a day. I have to eat chicken, rice, broccoli, potato. You know, you have to fuel the machine, right? That is a sacrifice in a way, right? I see that. So we're going to change direction. I want you to think of NIL for just a minute. I just want to touch on it because I want some younger athletes to understand this is a very new space. This is a very tricky space to navigate right now. I want all 3 of you, you may not have the personal experience, some of you do, but can you touch on how it's changed the vibe, the NIL space, in your workload or expectations or pressure to you or your teammates? Let's go back to Louis at the top. What do you think? How do you think it's changing? How athletes should I guess put themselves out there or?
Well, I mean, I am constantly in touch with NIL things because of my business with everyone at Babson. So it's a topic that I have very much present in my day to day. And it's a big opportunity. It's a very big opportunity for all the college athletes out there. Now, with big opportunity comes big responsibility because it's going to bring distractions. And you got to understand what's a distraction and what's actually something that's going to bring you closer to attain your goals. And so whenever you're entering social media, you have to enter social media with a goal. Do I want to spend some time and scrolling on reels or whatever, or do I actually want to spend this time analyzing the content that other creators are doing for me to understand what type of content works and what type of content doesn't, for me to be able to put the type of content that works and then take advantage of that opportunity, no? But it happens to me with when I go there, I go there with an idea and then suddenly I'm all lost in the scrolling because there's so much information thrown at the same time.
Right. I hear that daily. Everyone goes in with a goal, they get distracted, and then they forget where they were, and then they've lost time. So it's interesting that you've said that. Imani, what are your feelings and experience so far, and how can we prepare the next generation of athlete with that information?
Yeah, I definitely say being at Ohio State, one of the last NIL schools in the country, it's definitely interesting to see how big of a spectrum it is. I would say one of the highest paid football players who have access to every NIL deal they want, but then you look at maybe some smaller sports where they're not getting as much attention. And I'd say that's kind of the vibe for my team is if you want to engage in NIL, you certainly can, but no one's coming up to you and asking you to, represent their brand or things like that. So I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people perceive this huge pressure as an athlete to engage in NIL when, if you don't want to do it at all and you don't want to touch it, like that's completely fine. You can just be a normal athlete like it never happened. But if you want to take advantage of your time as an athlete and use your name, image, and likeness to your advantage, then you can totally do that.
Yeah, that's good. And you have a lot of experience you've been working on to understand more of that. You've done a lot of work there. Ben, what's been your journey and experience with it, or what do you feel is going on with NIL? How do you feel about it in general?
I think it's exactly what Amani hit on. It's something that you can partake in if you're really interested in, and if you're not so much interested in it, it's something that you don't really need to worry about. On my team, it's quite varying. It's a lot of people who engage in NIL deals, who are really putting themselves out there through like TikTok and Instagram, who have accumulated a big following, and kind of are going after these brands by themselves, not necessarily like Ohio State with Amani,
right?
But
right.
Me personally, as someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy being super active on social media, I kind of separate myself from that. Not something I felt I necessarily had the energy or time to really deal with.
Right.
But I think it's really exciting time to be in college sports, especially at bigger schools. And take advantage of those opportunities if you necessarily are interested. But for people who are really interested in just like playing their sport in school, it's not necessarily something that you have to worry about.
Right, and I like the way you both have touched on that, because it's there if you want it. You can go after it, but it's going to be work. It's work. You can go out there and go after different companies, but it's going to be you going after them generally. And it's open to any athlete, right? Any athlete can go out there and work for that and get their NIL that way. At a Subway, a local restaurant, like anything, or a local store. Is like, it's there. I found that the athletes have said it's like extra work. I want to just focus on my academics and my sports. Right. And I'm finding that's more of what they're comfortable with. There's only so much you can manage, right? Right. So that leads me to my next question. And I have a surprise question for you, which you didn't see. So I'm going to surprise you with that one in a second. But okay, each of you, can you each provide the athletes and the parents with 3 things that you think this younger generation of athletes should focus on to reach their goals of becoming NCAA or Ivy League? What do you think? We'll go back with you, Ben, first.
Yeah, the 3 things that I think are most important are goal setting, consistency, and determination.
Like it.
Going to high school, I went to a really small high school where a lot of people, kind of the ceiling is NESCAC to continue your athletic career, especially with football. And to see what those people have accomplished is truly remarkable coming out of a small school. I set my goal as an Ivy League football player, which a lot of people from my school have not done in a very long time. And setting those goals is obviously lofty and difficult. And to set those goals is very easy to do, but it's the consistency that gets you there. And I think by goal setting and really seeing yourself in that situation, you're able to achieve it, where a lot of people don't really kind of go through their day-to-day life not really setting a goal and knowing where they're going. Setting that goal really helps you achieve what you're really looking to do. And with the consistency and determination to really back that goal up and strive for something, I think is truly something every high school student should be doing.
And it's what we've all touched on tonight. The hardest thing in life is to be consistent, right? To be consistent every day at your habits, at your routines, at your food, right? You guys are 100% amazing at it. You've achieved all of those areas. It's amazing. And I see that is one of the best skills that these young athletes can have too. Amani, what would be your 3 strong strategies or skills that you would want to give to the next athletes coming up to focus on? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say mine might be a little bit more unique, but the first one is a drive to keep getting better. For me, and kind of similar to Ben, I came from a small school where I was one of the best players, and it was hard when I wasn't being challenged throughout high school to be the best, because I felt like I had already hit a ceiling. But just the drive to keep improving your skills and keep trying to find people who are better than you and will push you, because that will set you up better in college in the future. The second one's time management. We kind of already hit on that one a lot, but just being able to schedule your time will make you a more successful athlete and student and allow you to pursue other things and hopefully make some time for social life as well.
And ice cream. Get your ice cream.
All the ice cream.
Right.
And then the third one would be leaning on support system. Sports get really tough mentally, especially when you get to college and you're no longer the best one. And when you're sitting on the bench as a freshman, wishing you would have maybe put in a little extra work over the summer, or, wondering and losing confidence in yourself and wondering why, this person's playing instead of you, you can really lean on other people, teammates, friends, family, to ensure that it's going to be okay. And if you just keep working at it, everything will turn out the way it's supposed to.
Good answer. Good. I like those. All right, Louis. Let's hear yours. Let's go.
So if you forgive me, Larissa, I'm gonna say one, and I'm saying one because for me it's extremely important, and I want those athletes listening us today to stick with it. And I'm sure everyone has heard, no, you have to want it. You have to really want it. But of course you want it, right? Of course, if you're on this call, of course, if you're doing online school, an amazing school such as Laurel Springs, of course you want it. But there's different levels of wanting it, no? If you want it, okay, to the level of, you go to practice every single day, you do your mental training, your physical training, whatever, the minimum, then, okay, you will get
minimum time,
on a certain level. Now, if you're a bit gone here, if you really, really want it, others have to think that you're absolutely crazy, because you're willing to do things that most people are not willing to do, no? So, and wanting it to this level is the key to succeeding. I have spoken to hundreds of very, very successful athletes, like top in the world, and that's the special thing, that is the special characteristic that I see in every single one of them. So for me, that's the most important.
Right. Like it. I like it. I like all of your answers. So I hope those all help the parents and coaches and athletes that are listening to this amazing group of humans here. So here's my magic wand question that I ask on a podcast. Amani, you may have heard it before. I don't know. You were on a podcast. So if I were to give you each a magic wand, okay, and money and politics were not involved, carte blanche to do whatever what would you change in youth sports today to make it better? Just give yourself like a couple of minutes, like just to think about it. What would you change to make the sport ecosystem better if money and politics were not in the way? What do you think? All right.
For me, it's a.
Oh, there you go. You look at him. I'm like,
can I jump, or should we wait a bit more?
Yeah. The what? What did you say? I didn't hear you.
No, you want me to jump, or should we wait a bit?
Go, jump, fire. Let's go.
No, for me, it's simple, and I was talking to you yesterday about it, Larissa. Is today the spot where mental training and sports nutrition is where physical training was, I would say, 20, 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago, not every single professional athlete was focusing on physical training. Nowadays, you see that if you're not focusing on physical training, it's impossible that you're a professional athlete, no? And bit by bit, we're getting to the part where more and more athletes are starting to focus in these other areas of the non-sport specific training, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
The professional level is a bit closer, but the youth level is very, very far away. And so if there's one thing that I would change is putting less time in the sport specific, in the basketball, soccer, football, whatever, and putting more time into that other part of the training that not only builds the athlete, but also the person.
Oh, I like that. All right, that's a good magic wand answer there. I like that. All right, Amani or Ben? Fire. Whichever. Ben, ready?
I can go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
let's go.
A couple of my answers makes me feel kind of like an old man, but sticking with that theme, I would say like social media in the youth sports is kind of like, I feel, getting in the way of really what's special about these games we play. I think so often, a lot of the times, people are doing things for necessarily what it will look like on social media rather than the true really benefit of what they're getting out of their sport. I feel like that's often lost in today, with these NIL deals and what we see on social media with followers and like stuff like that. The sports we play is really special. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes that gets in the way, social media gets in the way of what kids truly get out of sports. So yeah.
Yeah, I can see. You mean, I think it's the authenticity is kind of lost.
100%.
Like it's not as artistic or sentimental as much anymore. It's just about show, kind of, to me. Sometimes I feel interesting, and I'm going to say this. I watched the U.S. game against Finland at the World Juniors because I had some athletes in that game. And when I watched the overtime between Finland and the U.S., when it goes to a 3-on-3, it was like watching art to me. The U.S. knew how to cycle their figure eight and cycle the puck way better than Finland. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's beautiful. Like, I know it was on TV, and then all of a sudden other people started to highlight that it was a very structured clinic they put on with the 3-on-3 technique that they used. And I thought, wow, like when I see sports played to like the best level of everyone and everyone's on, like I think every sport is beautiful when it's played like that, right? It really is. All right, Amani, let's hear yours. Magic wand question. What would you say?
Right. Mine might be a little bit controversial, but I would like
let's go. Let's fire it up.
I would like kids to stop specializing so early. I grew up playing over 10 sports as a kid. I played like 4 or 5 sports until I graduated college. And I think that's what makes me unique as an athlete in college, because not many of my teammates have done that. And I bring unique IQ to sports that, kids who didn't play basketball don't understand how to shift or things like that. And I think, it makes you a better athlete. It strengthens your mind, makes you a smarter athlete, and especially reduces your risk of injury because you're working multiple different muscles season to season. And I just think kids have more of a spark and a fire and a love for sports when they get to play it for fun. And honestly, as a college athlete, like, I've been to only play one sport in college just because there is a risk of burnout. And, I always love the change of season and everything like that. So, and I also do think, maybe the first sport that kids settle on might not be their favorite. So letting them test out everything and figure out which one's their favorite and their, their best sport is a good thing.
Right. I love that. And you have just spoken. I was listening to Wayne Gretzky speak. He's had this speech many times, and I've met him several times. And he's like, we played 6 sports all year round until you're 16. And in Finland, they do this too, that you can't single out in one sport until you're 14 because they don't believe in it, because they want you to be really, really well-rounded athletes in music and arts and all sports. And then you get to pick. And then they know that you love what you love, right? It becomes a love, not a forced choice, is what I'm trying to say. kind of like your parents put you in baseball. Kids are on travel teams now. They're like 8 years old and they're traveling more than I put on miles till I was 20. I mean, the 8-year-olds don't even want to play anymore. They want to go play. Right? So I do think there's a loss in the love of sports. So I'm gonna close it up here and sort of summarize what these amazing humans have suggested. So it sounds like we all three, and you guys can chime in here, that you would say that, you know what, up and coming athletes, parents, get into routine, follow the routine, stick to your goals, have daily intrinsic motivation, what keeps you going, add things in, balance friends and everything, because you can't burn out and then go back to friends. You got to keep them. You got to keep family. So you got to really balance that in. You have to balance in your training, your diet, your sleep. So what you're saying is really, what I'm hearing is all the other things that are not your sport, you got to balance it really well. And juggling all of that takes discipline and sticking to those routines. Do you guys want to add anything, or you think we good summary there? Or maybe I'll add phone routines for sure. But what'd you say, Louis?
No, I think you made a great summary.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think we're going to open it up now to some questions to Louis, Amani, and Ben from the audience. And I have more questions, of course. Marissa, welcome. Hello.
Hello.
What questions do you have, or what other questions would you like us to go ahead with?
Yeah, so we do have a couple of questions that came in. One of them is roughly how many hours a day, do each of you spend on your academics versus your sport on a weekly basis, not per day?
Yeah, in college, definitely there was a lot more demand than there ever was in high school, especially choosing a challenging major. It kind of depends on what major you choose, honestly, in college. A lot of political science and maybe other majors will spend less time than some economics majors and even engineering students. So I'd say it kind of depends, but most days it's kind of like an hour and a half end of the day. So
yeah,
tie that up.
Yeah, minimum, right? Minimum.
Yeah,
minimum. What about you, Louis? What do you think was your
it's
hourly?
In my case, right now I'm taking a gap semester to focus on my business. But when I was an athlete, I would say it was around maybe 3 hours for my sport per day, and then academically, like forgetting classes, not just counting studying, homework, and stuff. I agree with Ben. It was around 1 hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Okay. Amani, what do you think? Because I know you came from a different school too. So.
Yeah. So in college, we have these things called like care hours. So there's 8-hour weeks and 20-hour weeks. So right now I'm in 8-hour weeks. So that means we can practice and play for 8 hours. And then when we're in 20 hours, we can practice and play for 20 hours a week. And then you go to school for about half the day as well. So my practice block is 2 to 6. So I'll get to my facility around 12 o'clock and I'll be there until about 6:30 p.m. And then I have the morning between 8 and 12 to take class and do homework at night.
Wow, that sounds very busy. That block to me sounds really intense. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, Marissa, what would be another one that you had there for questions?
Yes, so this next question is specific to Laurel Springs. So I brought in Alyssa Tormala, which is the head of school for Laurel Springs. And then this family is thinking about switching their daughter to Laurel Springs mid-year and wanted to know a little bit more about how the school supports students through that mid-year transfer process.
Love it. And I'm so glad to be able to answer that question. We have what we call a rolling enrollment process, which means students can transfer into Laurel Springs at any point in the year. We have start dates every Wednesday of the year. And that process looks like talking with one of our admissions coordinators about where you are in your schooling right now, what credits need to transfer over, et cetera, and then picking the right date for your student to be able to switch over to Laurel Springs. And we can walk you through that entire process. So for the family that's interested in that, I'd like to encourage them to maybe consider coming to our virtual open house, which is next Tuesday in the evening. And there's going to be lots of information there about exactly this topic, and also access to our admissions coordinators and counselors and teachers and various other folks who can talk about what that experience looks like, including some of our students who have moved into Laurel Springs in the middle of the year. So I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you were here to answer that. Marissa, what else do you have on the docket there?
So I do have another question specifically for the athletes, and that is they're curious what you majored in, and if you had anyone, if any of you or anyone on your teams majored in anything in STEM, so science, tech, engineering, and mathematics. They're wondering if it's possible to pursue a rigorous major and be a college athlete at the same time.
Ben?
Yeah, I did economics. It's like, I would say, a tougher major. On my team, there was some pre-med students as well as electrical engineering students who, in my opinion, they'd be some of the hardest classes maybe in the world they were taking. At least they made it sound like that. And a lot of those classes are not offered in a lot of time slots, so they would come late to certain practices and then make up some lifts along the way. But it's definitely possible. It's all about communicating with your coach.
I like that answer.
In my case, Babson only has business major, so I study business, and all my teammates study the same.
Okay. Yeah. And Amani, what sort of degrees? What are you? You're in business, right, Amani?
Yep. I'm getting my undergraduate. Oh, go ahead.
No. I just said, what other degrees do you think are on your team? Like, do you find there's a focus, like business? Are they interested in sciences, STEM, engineering?
Yeah. So I'm in marketing. We have a really good business school at Ohio State. So I have a lot of teammates in the business school, which, I mean, it depends on how strong of a student you are. Some people think it's decent. Some people think it's really hard. But the time management of that is easy just because we're a larger school. We offer more class times. We do have a few pre-med students, and as Ben mentioned, like they have to miss lifts or runs or things like that. But our coaches are happy to work with them and make it up. And I do have friends on other sports teams that are in different STEM majors like engineering and things like that. And you know, the coaches, at the end of the day, like you're in college to get an education, and you're an athlete on the side. So every coach is pretty willing to work with you. And if you have to miss something, you have to miss something. But I'd say any major you want to do is definitely doable because, you know, you're only playing this sport for 4 years, but your career is forever.
Love that. Great answer.
Perfect. I have 2 more questions, and then we can kind of wrap up. This one is also for Laurel Springs, so I'll have this one for Alyssa again. Throughout the discussion, you guys talked many times about a number of different skills that you needed to be successful, such as discipline. And they're wondering how Laurel Springs School supports students and those types of skills that they need in order to be successful, both academically and athletically.
I absolutely love that question. You know, I've been in private education, both brick and mortar and now in online schools for over 20 years. And it's always one of the big questions that families have about how well prepared will my student be for college and for the skill sets that are required. One of the beauties of the program that we can offer at Laurel Springs is students are automatically put in a position to learn how to be independent learners, to learn to set up their own schedules, to follow pacing schedules and then adjust them accordingly based on, for example, having 3 hours a day of athletic practice. They learn how to advocate with their teachers and show up at office hours and really make sure that they understand the content because they're getting that kind of personalized attention from their teachers. The feedback we get from our students and alumni consistently as they go off to college, and it ranges across the board which colleges they're going to, but the consistent feedback we get is, I was so well prepared, not only from an academic standpoint and understanding the content that I needed to know, but I also knew how to write, I knew how to speak, I knew how to lead, I knew how to go advocate for myself with my teachers, I knew how to show up at office hours, I knew how to set up my school day and my work days with all of the many things I needed to balance in my life. And it just felt like second nature to do that. And I know that the athletes on this screen know exactly what that looks like for them when you're balancing so many different important things in your life on a day-to-day basis. So I would say these are some of the really cool skill sets that come from being able to be part of a program like Laurel Springs.
I want to hop in there because as an alumni, I have to say I cannot think of a better place than Laurel Springs to learn discipline. From a sophomore in high school, no, I had to learn how to structure all the schedule by myself. I was traveling to a bunch of different countries, and I had to make time for my school. No, we were talking before about the priorities. No, school,
right.
School was at the same level of priority as tennis. So even though I was gonna go to Bosnia, Croatia, or Denmark, no, I had to make time in that week for the school. And learning how to do this at such an early age helped me so much when I moved to college, no, and I had to create my schedule there as well.
Awesome. So the last question we have is for the athletes again, and it's kind of a two-parter. So they're curious how you handled stress, organizing information, your thoughts and your emotions when it came to making your final decision on what college or university you would attend. And then what outside pressures did you have to handle throughout that process?
Let's go with Ben at the top first.
Yeah, my journey to Columbia was definitely unique. I was someone who had Division I offers from both schools like that were FBS, who would offer full ride scholarships, also as well as Ivy League schools who don't necessarily offer athletic scholarships. But the whole thing that sold me on Columbia was the fact that they are offering a top line education at the top, maybe three, arguably, depending on what poll you look at, university in the world. Their whole selling pitch to, I guess, would be 4 for the next 40. And that's something that really stuck out to me, where other schools were really focusing on athletics and other opportunities through athletics. Columbia was offering opportunities through internships and stuff that would set me up for the rest of my life. And that really stood out to me. And I guess outside pressure wise, a lot of like my friends obviously wanted me to go to the biggest football school I could go to, because obviously that's so cool. I guess, yeah. So I guess it's all about like what your personal goals are and where you see yourself in the next 4 years.
I actually just want to add a question in that Marissa here for Ben. Ben, or any of you, do you feel like there was this, and I hear this a lot from our athletes, was there something in your gut just told you that this was the right fit for you?
Yeah, I think that gut feeling. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that gut feeling really comes down to how the people who are recruiting you make you feel and how that university makes you feel. The greatest piece of advice I ever got in recruiting was pick a school for the school and not the coaches or necessarily the program, because you don't know what's going to happen once you get there. Stuff may not work out. You may get hurt. You may have a career-ending injury. So you want to go somewhere where you feel truly comfortable with the education, the climate, the people. So, I mean, if school doesn't necessarily work, or football or whatever sport you play doesn't work out, you have a school to fall back on that you can be proud of.
That's good. Good. Louis, what would you say?
So my recruiting process was very interesting. I knew like I had the option early on to stay in Spain, but as soon as I made the decision to study at Laurel Springs, the idea was to go to the States, play at the D1 level, and get the maximum scholarship that I could get. No, so in my junior year, senior year, I started talking to coaches. I started getting offers, and that was the idea. No, so lots of D1s offers with pretty much full ride scholarship in every single one of them, and then I knew also that I really wanted to focus on entrepreneurship, right? And one day looking on internet, I found that the best school for entrepreneurship was Babson College, and I did some research. I found out they were D3 and one of the most expensive schools in the country. And I said, I mean, I went to my parents and I told them, hey, there's this option. I'm working with the coach next week, but it's a bit expensive. And at the end of the day, we figured the finances out. I've been paying a lot of it by myself, no, but that was my dream. It's exactly what you were saying, Larissa. That gut feeling that I had, I knew exactly I had to go there. I didn't care about anything else, and I'm extremely happy to have attended Babson.
Nice. Amani, what did you feel? How did you get to your decision?
Yeah, totally echo everything that's been said. But it's kind of funny, my recruiting journey, because I thought I wanted to be a small school, like in the middle of nowhere, not in a city. And I grew up a Penn State fan. So like Ohio State was something that was so foreign to me. Thought I wanted Ivy Leagues because I valued my education. But I would really say just keep your options open, because I think every college education these days, you have like super high end and, there's a little bit of range, but I think every college offers a great education these days and you can't go wrong really anywhere. But I totally had that gut feeling when I set foot at Ohio State. And for me, what sold it was just the amazing opportunities for athletes and students, and just the resources they have here are incredible. And I'd say, like, luckily for me, I didn't really feel a lot of pressure from my parents to, choose a certain place over another. And I think that's really important. And if your parents are pressuring you, I think it's important to have those conversations early with them and say, look, this is my journey. I appreciate, your support and everything through this. But at the end of the day, I want this to be my decision. And so I just think that's another piece of advice that I would offer, because I know I have had friends who have felt that pressure to commit somewhere because of their family.
Yep. Those are all great answers. And I'm so happy you guys were all here today to help us with this Transformation Thursdays here. Marissa, is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up? Or
we just had one specific question for you, Larissa. And that was just based on your wealth of experience in working with athletes, what is one piece of advice that you have for the next generation of athletes?
First thing, find a sport you love. That's probably, I would say, find a sport you love and figure out the plan to do it. Right? You got to figure out the plan to do it. And that usually ends up to be some type of routine. And I like to put the phone in that routine, because you don't want the phone to overwhelm you and distract you, which I see kids leaving their scholarships every day from phones and the problems that we get from being on them. So I would just say that find that sport, find a way to do it, stick to your plan, and like find the place that you want to be. Like follow your gut and get that scholarship where you want to be, or that professional sport, which we have those athletes. But I think when you find your right sport and you find your right vibe, you're going to thrive anywhere you go. It doesn't matter. So that would be my best piece of advice.
Wonderful. No, I think for tonight, just wanted to let the audience know that we have recorded this session and we will send it to you tomorrow in a follow-up email. So you have this link and you can rewatch if you want to, and remember any of the answers to any of the questions that were asked or any of the conversation. And then just a reminder that our Transformation Thursdays panel, we do have 5 more months of this happening. So our next one is in February, where we will be talking about achieving harmony and how families can balance passion pursuits and mental health while receiving an education. So we encourage you to join us for that and any other panel events that speak to you. And we appreciate all of the athletes and Larissa today. Thank you for joining us. This was a really great conversation.
Yes, and thank you everyone, Laurel Springs, athletes. We're so happy to be here. We just want to make impact. Thank you.